Welcome to Tenacity with Sonia C, the podcast for founders, entrepreneurs, dreamers, and leaders navigating the journey of growth. In each episode, we get into the setbacks, the rebuilds, the pivots, and the lessons learned along the way. These are honest conversations with leaders who face challenges head on and found success in business and in life. I'm your host, Sonia, and let's get started. My guest today is Jason Vanderveer. He made an unconventional decision to turn down the opportunity to take over his family's multi-million-dollar auto dealership group in order to build a business of his own from scratch. Starting with little money and a planner he designed in his basement, Jason built a seven-figure product business, grew a community to over 40,000 customers, authored the book Dream Driven, and assembled a 35-unit real estate portfolio. This conversation matters because many founders inherit expectations from family, industry, or legacy, and very few are willing to walk away from certainty to pursue something unproven. Today, we're going to talk about identity, pressure, risk tolerance, and what it actually takes to build something without a safety net. Hi, Jason. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on, Sonia.
But I appreciate having you on, and I'm excited to get into this conversation with you. So
Yeah.
our audience already knows all about you. So let's get right into the questions and make the best use of our time.
Yep.
So my first question for you is, when you turned down taking over your family's business, what was at stake personally for you?
Stake personally, so I was leaving that business because I didn't enjoy it. It seemed like if I left it, that it would be really embarrassing to ever go back. So I was kind of like burning a bridge that was there. Uh, then probably my life savings, I assumed I would spend those on whatever I was going to try next. Probably the biggest thing I was putting at risk was just my own pride or ego. I didn't want to turn down a great opportunity that my family gave me and then go fail. And
Mm-hmm.
then I probably wouldn't go back. Maybe I would if I would have gone into that situation, but mostly it was the fear of what my ego and pride would do if I tried something and failed publicly.
Yeah, and so many people get into family business because that's sort of like the expectation. What was it that what led you to not want to be part of this business?
Yeah. So strangely enough, he was watching how much my dad liked the business. It was one of the things. So growing up, it was a family business. My dad was there every day, and you can just see he loves working in the car business. He loves being at the dealership. If you show up at one of the Vanderveer locations, you'll know if my dad is there because you'll hear him. He's excited. He's loud. He just loves his work. So growing up and even working there, I saw that and I knew that's what I wanted. I want a business that lights a fire inside of me. It's an extension of myself. And after a few years of working there, I just realized that's not what I was going to get. And it was hard to come to that because I was good at it. In a lot of way, me and my dad are very similar people, or skill sets, personality traits. So I think it was
Mhm.
hard for him. It was even hard for me. Like, why aren't I enjoying this like he does? I'm doing well with it, but I just hated showing up to work every day. And it was kind of like if it was not our family business, it would have been so clear, like just leave and go get a
Mm.
different job. But I was doing well. My name was on the building. Everybody just assumed you're Jason Vanderveer. You're gonna, your owner's son. You're gonna work at Vanderveer Auto, the car dealership. So yeah, I think that gave me the clarity to leave. But then also that brought me clarity was I bought my first rental property when I was still working there.
Mhm.
And I just loved that process of it. Still now today, I've continued to buy rental properties over the years. But if I meet somebody who has rental properties, I feel like I can just talk to them for hours about it. It's fun. It's like you're in the club. I'm curious. How are you finding your deals? How are you finding tenants? How are you structuring things? Versus if I met somebody else who worked in the car business, I knew how to talk to them because I was raised in that environment, but it didn't connect to an actual passion of
Mhm.
mine. It wasn't exciting. So I feel like between one, seeing my dad had that passion, and then for me to experience it for myself in another industry, I realized, all right, I want to find something else that I enjoy more.
Yeah, I love that. So, did that decision change your relationship with your family? Well, especially your dad?
No, it was a hard conversation to have that I was afraid of having. He's been extremely supportive of me now that I've left and uh, through the process of watching me start my own business. I mean, it still in some ways it does indirectly. When I'm working at the family business, I have a lot more time with my dad, which could be good and could be bad, right? He's my
Mm,
dad, but then he was also my boss when I was working there, which was good and bad in a relationship. So I think if maybe I physically see them less because I'm not at the dealership, but
that might be a good
it could
thing.
be better. It could be
Yeah.
better. Just with my, yeah, I don't want to butt heads with him. And there is something strange when it's your own dad telling you what to do. It's just like, rather than like your boss, it's like, okay, you got to suck it up and do it, right? This is what you signed up for.
Yeah.
But it's your dad. Um, I don't know. And sometimes
Yeah.
I would have wanted to argue with him more, but it's like, okay, you're not just my dad. You are the owner of the company. I'm not. I'm still an employee learning this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's been good.
You started with a planner in your basement and little capital. What did you understand early that most new founders miss?
I did not understand very much, to be frank. I think probably what helped me the most, and maybe what most entrepreneurs miss, is I had clarity on what I wanted to do with my life. And that made everything else easier. Like if I would have left my job and it's like, I don't really know what business I want to start, uh,
Mm,
it would have been hard because even though I did know what business I want to start, starting a business is hard. And you've probably
yeah.
kind of experienced that with your own entrepreneurial journeys. It's just hard. It takes a lot of pushing to get something going. But I was so clear on this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do with my life. That clarity gave me the confidence that one, I'm going to turn down a very straight trajectory to take over a very large successful business to go start with nothing. But then it gave me the clarity of what I was going to work for. If things were challenging, it's my desire was so much bigger than the challenge, right? If your desire is bigger than
Mm,
the challenge, you'll put in the work. If it's the other way, you have a little desire because you don't have very much clarity, then if you run into a challenge, you're just going to jump ship and go look for another easier business
yeah.
opportunity.
So did you at that point see yourself in your dad? Because earlier you were describing to me that, you loved his passion and that the fact that he loved what he did. So in that process, did you start seeing yourself as what you had seen your dad as?
I think it probably took, I would say yes and no. My dad loved his business and still does. And I did get that very quickly. But he had a successful business. And it
Mm.
took me a couple of years to really get my business to the point where it was consistently turning profits. And I was also satisfied with the results my business was giving. So I would say it came, but that wasn't as immediate as I was expecting it to be. And right, I think I like needed to go through this season of struggle. I grew so much from that,
Yeah.
and I mean, I wouldn't want to go through it again. But if I had the opportunity to change that, I wouldn't because that's what I needed to go through to learn how to actually run a business.
And I mean, the reality is like when you first start out, it's not all fun and games. But before your business worked, what moment tested your belief the most?
What tested me the most was I had done a focus group with this. So I launched this planner, right? I designed this planner. And first, I had spent months interviewing successful people, figuring out how they set their goals, track their goals to make the content for this planner. And one of the mentors recommended me to host a focus group to have people try it out and see if it worked. And I thought it was a silly idea. I was like, I know my planner idea is amazing. Like it's going to work. But out of respect for them, I hosted this focus group and I had 6 people. It was supposed to be an hour and we were going to go through these little booklets of the planner design that I printed out. And we ended up being there for over 3 hours. We didn't even make it through the whole design. And it was just tons of negative feedback that I was getting. People were
Oh,
telling me this doesn't make sense. This is too much writing. This is repetitive. I don't get what I'm supposed to do here. So it was embarrassing. It's like at this point, I left my job for months. I told everybody what I was doing. Now I showed people this planner that I've been working on for months, and they basically told me it sucked, right? And I remember I went back to my car and I was crushed. It was like, uh, but then something shifted where it was kind of like I realized that now I had a list of here's all the problems wrong with this planner design.
hmm.
And if I fix them, I'll have a better planner design. And I realize I'm so grateful that I got that feedback now when it's easy for me to change it rather than after I launch it and I get tons of negative reviews. So that was probably the point that tested me the most because it would have been the most easy logical place to just be like, I give up. I made the plan and design. It didn't work well. I give up. But I didn't.
Yeah.
I ended up hosting 7 focus groups,
Wow.
and each one got better and better until like the last 2, it just worked. Like people went through it, they loved it, they tried it out, they were getting crazy results that they were proud of, and it was like, all right, it's time to launch this business. So I'm glad I made it through that trying moment.
I love, 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 love what you just said because this is something that I think is so important for for founders at those early stages. I always meet people that are like in the early stages, but they believe so much in their idea and their product that they're not willing to take that kind of feedback. And then by the
Mm,
time they discover that their product sucks or needs modification or the market's not going to accept it, it's too late because they've already spent all this money building it. So what you just said is like it's so great. Early on, do the work, get the feedback. And sometimes you know what, our ideas are not that great and they're not
mhm,
for everyone, right? So it's
mhm.
like it doesn't mean you have a bad idea. It just means that you need to like make it better, right?
Yeah. And it was, I mean, it's just hard getting negative feedback. People were giving me
Yeah, for
feedback and like
sure.
I wanted to argue with them to be like, you're wrong. This is
No,
great. This
no,
is your
no.
idea. But good thing like that's not the environment that was there. I wanted their feedback, so it
Yeah.
would have been not appropriate for me to tell them they were wrong. But ultimately they helped me get what I wanted. Like I
Yeah.
wanted a phenomenal planner design to help myself, but to then be able to help other people. And the process of making that just was the process of making it. Now, if they told me to completely change business ideas, that might have been a different situation, but it was like, nope, this still aligns with my vision of what I really want to do. In just a painful, necessary way, it helped me create it better than I could have on my own.
Yeah. Yeah, and you weren't stubborn. You took the constructive criticism, which I think is really good. You teach the triple L framework. What problem does that framework actually solve for founders?
Yeah. So the triple L framework would help you if you have a bunch of business ideas to figure out which one you actually want to do. I view it as a step in validation. There's validating with the market, like does my product work? Will people pay profitable prices? But I would say like even and we can get into those and how to do them. But a step before that is this the right business idea for you? And what those, and I'll take you through the framework, but what it's helping somebody understand or maybe quantify is the desire big enough? Like we were talking about
Mm,
earlier, is this desire big enough to say, I'm going to push through challenges? And is this actually what I want to do with my life? So, and if people need help coming up with what are your list of business ideas, we can get into that and I'll share a strategy for it. But once you have your list of business ideas, you're going to go through these 3 L's. And the first is this business idea, do I have a longing to make it happen?
mm,
Uh, right? How big is the desire? And to help somebody clarify that, the business idea has to pass the first alarm test, which is basically, are you willing to get out of your bed on your first alarm to go start working on your business? Because if you're not, you need to find a better business idea, one that you're more excited about, because you will absolutely run into challenges much harder than getting out of your bed on your first alarm. The second is this business idea lifting? And what I mean by that
mm,
is, will it lift you to a better version of yourself? It's kind of like whenever I'm starting a new business or a new business venture, it's like I want that goal of starting the business to be such a big goal that it's outside of what I'm currently capable of. It's almost too big for the level I'm at. That way, the
hmm.
only way I can accomplish that goal, the only way I can start that business is if I force myself to improve. I don't know if you follow Tony Robbins, but one of the things he
Yeah.
says that I really like is it's not about the goal, it's about growing to become the person who can achieve the goal. This business idea, it should force a better version of you to break free and live. After you set this
Mm,
business idea, you should start thinking like, what skills am I going to have to learn at? What am I going to have to get better at? What fears am I going to have to overcome? Because in a lot of ways that's why you're doing this is it's going to help form you in a much better into a much better version of yourself. If you already knew exactly how to start the business, I would tell you, look, that's not really a great business idea. That's not even a goal in the
hmm.
first place. That's a to-do list item. Go get it done. But if it's a goal, it should be stretching you. It should help you grow. So I want you to have longing. I want it to be lifting. I want it to make you a better version of you. And the third thing is, does it feel light? Now, this is a little bit more just intrinsic. Does the idea of starting this business, does it feel light or does it feel heavy? Typically, entrepreneurs can actually answer this pretty quickly. I know for
Mm,
myself, when I was at the dealership, the idea of working there felt really heavy, even though I was on like a straight path towards success. All I had to do was basically smile and keep the same last name, and I was going to be a car dealer with 400 employees and multiple locations, and it was straight path to success. But the idea was so heavy.
mm,
However, to go start my own business where I had no clue what I was doing, I was starting with nothing, I was going to work a ton of hours, it was highly risky. It felt light, it just felt fun. So when somebody has these business ideas, I want it to have those three L's, and that tells me, okay, there's a big enough fire inside of you to say this is what you actually want to do with your life. Now you can move on to the next parts of validation, which realistically, validating a business, it's hard. Just like I talked about when I did those focus groups, it's hard.
mm.
So you need that first thing. You need to make sure that you have enough desire in you. Otherwise, you're going to quit during validation and you're going to go
Yeah.
jump ship to another business idea.
So what happens when someone goes in with the intention? Because I do think intention is important as well. And I meet people like this all the time where they go into a business idea with the intention that it's just to make money. It's not necessarily something they're passionate about. They sort of have this dream. They see people online becoming famous and doing really well, creating content. And they're like, I want to build a 6, 7 figure business in like a year and then exit and get out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the wrong approach for business in my mind. But so let me tell you, I view there's like two methods to discovering your
Mm-hmm.
perfect business idea. And the one is what I call the easy money approach, which is basically what you described. At the root of this approach, the entrepreneur is trying to answer the question, what business is the easiest to start and will earn me the most amount of money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they search the market for this perfect product or service to sell. The problem with that is that starting a business is hard. We already talked about
Mm-hmm.
that. And since
Yeah.
easy money is the foundation of that business idea, if either the easy part or the money part disappear, which is likely to happen at some point, they're going to jump and look for another easy money business idea. So the second approach to entrepreneurship and finding your perfect business idea is what I call the dream driven approach, where at the root of this approach, the entrepreneur is trying to answer the question, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to do
Mm-hmm.
with your life? And once you can clarify that answer to that question, then you can create the business that'll be the means to make it happen. And just like I brought up earlier, when I left the dealership, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. If it was hard, if I was struggling, if I wasn't turning a profit right away, it's like this is what I want to do with my life. And even though it was hard, I enjoyed it. It felt light. I
Mm-hmm.
was still living out my dream every day. So I think if somebody's going to take the easy money route, it's like, yes, I want you to have a highly profitable business that makes you money. I don't want to say that I don't, but I think you're missing out on such a deeper journey of figuring out what do you want to do with your life? Who do you want to become?
Mm-hmm.
And once you clarify that, then you can get the business that'll be the means to make it happen.
Yeah. So where do you see people getting stuck the most?
Yeah. I mean, the easy money approach is relevant. I think people almost feel guilty asking themselves what I really like, even asking themselves, what do I want to do with my life? Uh,
Mm.
they they just avoid that question, and strangely this is connected to even my planner business. I feel like so many times I'll have customers who they jump from planner to planner to planner to planner hoping that this perfect planner design will solve
Yeah, that's
their
me.
entire life. Yeah, when it's like, look, you don't need another planner. I mean, I have a biased opinion. I think my planner is the best, but it's because it helps somebody with this key question is you don't need another planner to make everything fit into your life. It's you need to answer the question, what do you want to do with your life? Because
Mm.
once you get clarity to that, then it's easy to say, okay, I'm going to say yes to this and I'm going to say no to all this other stuff. And it's so much easier to manage your time. So for somebody who's struggling with, okay, maybe that's a deep question. How do you answer the question? What do you want to do with your life? And the source of that is going to be your dreams. And I want to define what I mean by dreams.
Okay.
And I want to compare that to goals. Most people who listen to this are probably familiar with the concept of goals, right? When you set a goal, it's
Mm-hmm.
something you actually plan on doing. It's specific, it's realistic, it's time bound, the whole SMART goals thing. Dreams, on the other hand, when we're dreaming, we're just asking our heart, what would I love to do? What would I love to experience? And you let your heart speak to you without limits. They don't have to be realistic. They're things you may or may not actually do. You're just dreaming. And this is really important for your goals because once you have dreams, then you can set goals that are aimed at making those dreams happen. It actually gives your goals meaning because they're working towards something bigger than themselves. If you don't have any dreams, you can still set goals, but they're not aiming at anything, right? So therefore, they lack meaning. And when your goals lack meaning, you end up in this place that I call survival mode, where you're
Mm,
just working to survive. You're just trying to stay afloat. And there's an easy way to fix that. If you start dreaming, then you have meaningful goals and then you fill your life with purpose. I think one of the problems with goals is that you can set a goal to do anything, right? Like you
mm-hmm.
could set a goal today to go write a pop-up book about penguins, right? And you could make a plan and do it. But if that wasn't connected to a dream of yours, I would tell you, well, that's a complete waste of time, right?
Mm,
So once you have your dreams, then you can clarify, here's the life that I want. Now my goals have meanings. Now I am filled with purpose. So for the people who they have no clue what they want to do, start dreaming because in and I you need to make that an intentional activity to start dreaming. I'll ask people, well, what do you dream of doing? And I'll be like, well, I don't
yeah.
know. And I'll say, well, how often do you dream? Never. It's like, okay, there's your problem, right? I take intentional time every day to dream. I'll go down into my basement, put on my headphones, I'll turn on some inspiring music, and I'll just pace around for 10 minutes and dream of the type of life that I want to live.
Mm,
And it gets me so clear on what I want to do with my life. One, it gives me clarity because I'll have some dreams that come up and I'll dream about them for a few days and then it kind of gets old and it passes. But I have other dreams that I can dream about again and again and again, and it just lights a fire in me. So it gives me clarity on, okay, this is what I actually want to do with my life. And secondly, it gives me tons of motivation to go do it because it's so
yeah.
clear in my head. Uh, I just need to go do it at that point. So, long answer to your question, if they're stuck on I don't know, a business idea, well, you need to figure out what do you want to do with your life and do that. You got to let your heart speak to you. What do you want to do? Not what do you need? What do you want to do? What do you dream of doing?
Yeah. So what happens when you have that idea and you go out and you do it and you start it and you build that company and it's going great until it's not, until it becomes a burden on you, just like your other job was, right? Because that can happen.
Yeah.
Burnout can happen. You become bored or it's no longer interesting. And that dream and that idea now becomes a burden on your life. Do you see that happen? And if it does, how can someone change it?
Yeah. Oh, I see that happen all the time with entrepreneurs
Okay.
because this is, uh, well, two things here. One, just because you start your business doesn't mean you can stop dreaming. Most of those entrepreneurs, they had the dream of starting a business, then they did it, and then they stopped dreaming. They stopped asking themselves,
Mm,
what else do I want? My experience, and when somebody does dream, once you get that business, it will spark new dreams. Once you accomplish that business, what's next on your horizon? But if you stop asking yourself, what do I want to do with my life? Of course, you're not going to get what you want. You didn't even admit
mm,
to yourself what you want to do. So the whole dreaming activity, that's not just for people looking for their business idea. It's if you currently have a business and you aren't enjoying it anymore, I bet if you're honest with yourself, you stopped dreaming.
mm,
And because our I mean, this is, I'll come back to other like practical things, but like your dreams will define your life. If you dream about going out and getting drunk with your friends every night, your life is going to look like that. If you dream
mm.
about growing a big business, you're going to put yourself on that trajectory. If you don't dream about anything, it's still going to define your life because you end up in survival mode. And most of the time, that's where these entrepreneurs are after they created their business. The other thing I think it's important for entrepreneurs to remember is your your business should be the means, not the end. Your business should be the
Mm,
means, not the end. And what I mean by that is the lifestyle. That's the end goal. You should clarify what's the end lifestyle that I want. What do I want to be? What impact do I want to be making? How do I want to be helping others? How much money do I want to earn? How many hours a week do I want? Once I clarify that lifestyle, then I can make my business that'll be the means to create it. If you flip those, though, if you make your business the end, then business owners often succeed and their business completely overtakes their life. And it's, no, no, no. I need you to dream about what's the lifestyle that you want? What's going to light the fire inside of you? How does this fit into the ideal life? And then that'll help re-spark the excitement around it.
what misconception do people have about work-life balance as an entrepreneur, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it'll actually make you more successful. I mean, the work life balance or your lifestyle should be the end. I think it's highly achievable for entrepreneurs. I feel like for me, having a wife, we have three kids. We're gonna have our fourth in May. My
Wow.
wife and kids have what's made me more successful. It's not, they're not a distraction. They definitely don't slow me down. Because I have a wife and kids, I need to have firm boundaries of my time. I'm done working
Mm,
at 4:45 p.m. every afternoon. It's like I have a timer that goes off. My wife needs me to be walking out of my office to go help her. She stays at home with our kids all day. But it's like because of those firm boundaries, we have a lifestyle that we want. I only have a certain number of hours to work. And because am the sole supporter of our family, I have to perform. I have to earn a higher amount of money, but it's forced me to get laser focused on my goals. I don't have the luxury of being able to work on 8 goals at a time. I don't have the
mm,
time because I'm spending a lot of it with my wife and kids. So I have to force myself to say, I'm not going to focus on 8. I need to figure out what's the most impactful goal to focus on, and I will only do one. And that is a privilege. That level of focus will, I think, ultimately make you more successful.
At this stage of success, what internal pressure still shows up for you?
Probably just to keep showing up. It it seems like I'm always working on the next thing for my
Thing?
business. Yeah, just to keep performing, right? I don't want to be somebody who is just accomplished. I want to be an accomplisher. I want to keep accomplishing things. Not like, oh, Jason did some cool stuff when he was younger and then he
Mm,
just plateaued and stopped.
yeah.
Yeah, it's continuing.
So I'm going to assume that you're really good at keeping yourself motivated or motivating yourself. But what happens when you sort of like maybe get stuck and you can't be your own motivator? Who do you go to or what do you do to get that motivation back?
Yeah, I mean, if most of the time, if I'm not having motivation, it's because I stopped dreaming every day. So I feel like that's one of the biggest things for me. But I do enjoy like I will read every day for a little bit, meet with other entrepreneurs. I feel like I got to keep digging the well. Like those
Mm,
books, meeting with other people who are doing cool things, they spark my mind for new dreams. Uh, of new things to aim at. So I think some
yeah.
specific behaviors, reading about other entrepreneurs or personal development books, but connecting with other entrepreneurs. One of like the habits I've been in ever since I left, well, even before I left my job, but I'll go to one conference per year with
Okay.
entrepreneurs that are similar to me. And it's just so powerful because it's easy to get complacent where it's like, oh, I'm doing
Mm,
pretty good. We can support ourselves. We're happy. And that's fine. Like I don't want you to not be happy with where you're at. But you go there and you meet somebody else who's 10 years younger than you and has a business that's 3 times the size. And it's like, oh wow, they think completely different. Like they're going after
mm,
way bigger goals. And it's helping me realize not that I've been complacent, but that my thinking's been too small. It's like I could be
mm,
putting in just as much effort and getting way higher results, making a much bigger impact if I just thought more similar to these people.
yeah.
So that's where I would start.
So surround yourself with people who dream a little bit bigger than you in a way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, we're coming up on time, but before we wrap up, I have one last question for you. If someone is standing at the edge of a big decision that could disappoint others, what should they evaluate before they jump?
Yeah. I mean, disappointing others, it's if it's what you want to do with your life, somebody's going to be disappointed with you no matter what. That's the world we live in. You
Mm,
can go say hello and somebody's going to be offended. That's the world we live
yeah.
in. So I wouldn't make my decision based off of it if I disappoint others. There were people that were disappointed when I left the dealership and started another business. That's the nature of it. I would come back to, is this what you want to do with your life? Because this is
Yeah.
the thing. People will be disappointed with you, and maybe that's negative. Uh, but I wouldn't want to be disappointed with myself. And I'll tell you, when I left the dealership, there was these certain number of people that I was like terrified of seeing afterwards. I thought they would
Mm,
just judge me for it. They would give me a really hard time or think, oh, that was a stupid idea. And I avoided them. And one by one, years later, I'd seen them at, I don't know, reunion or somewhere where I'd see these people. And it's crazy. All of those people came and they like wanted to talk to me and told me, hey, I saw what you've been doing. I've always dreamed of doing something similar. I would love to connect with you and hear how you did it. And it's in my head for some reason, I thought those would be the people that would be the most judgmental of my decision. And maybe they would have at first, I don't know. But years later, I feel like they actually gave me confidence once I got to talk to them.
yeah.
So you might not be disappointing people as like you think. You might actually be inspiring them because they if
Yeah.
they see you go push through it, it inspires them to push through their own stuff.
Love it. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate your time today. This was a lovely conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it as well.
I want to thank Jason for joining me today. Here's a leadership principle. Legacy is not ownership over someone else's success. It's the courage to build something aligned with your convictions. As founders, we cannot outsource our decisions to expectations. The cost of misalignment compounds over time, financially and emotionally. Real leadership is choosing responsibility over comfort. If you are facing a decision that feels heavy, write down what staying will cost you in 5 years and what leaving would require you to become, then choose deliberately. And that's a wrap. Thank you for joining me on this journey of learning and growth. If this episode resonated with you, take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and share it with someone who's building through a challenge right now. You can also connect with us on social media and be part of a community that believes resilience is the real advantage. Remember, growth isn't linear, success isn't guaranteed, and setbacks are part of the process. What matters is how you execute. This is Sonia signing off, but as always, keep chasing your dreams with tenacity.